Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to our STEM Profile series where we'll be interviewing students participating in the Solar Decathlon Build Challenge as part of our Road to Victory coverage. Today, we're joined by Janae Thomas, who is at Weber State University. She is a recent graduate in construction management and participated as the student project manager. Hello, Janae.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for being on the program. One thing I kind of like to do to break the ice and talk about the decathlon is to start with some paraphernalia. I happen to have one of these gems in my hand, a Solar Decathlon towel from the 2005 competition. The students were busy testing their hot water to see if they could wash clothes with energy efficient washers and dryers. Looks like you have something there too. What is that?
I have your logo on our Jobsite Banner mock-up. This is a render that we did before we actually printed it 4x8 and put it all around our job site on the corner of Quincy and 28th Street in Ogden. So put your logo right here on the corner and it sits right next to my office desk.
Well, it's fun to kind of see how this competition evolves over the years. And I know that's one of the key contests. Let's talk a little bit more about you. I understand you recently graduated in April. Why did you major in construction management?
I saw years ago that there was going to be a shortage of labor in the construction industry. And through economics, we learned that when there's a shortage of anything, demand goes up. And it felt like a really good fit as far as job security goes. I should have done it years ago. And the reason I say that is my dad would take me to his job sites on Saturdays. He was an electrical engineer. And then when we weren't at work with him on Saturdays, we were driving around in the back hills. He'd stop and pull over and say, "Here's where I spent the summer in 1972. We gravelled this road and oiled it." He was there with his dad. So my grandpa was in civil work. And that's kind of near and dear to my heart. So it feels good to be back into an industry that has embraced my family for a really long time.
That's pretty neat to see how it's so connected to you personally.
Yeah.
And probably working this event over the last 2 years is something that will stick with you as well, right? I mean, what was it that inspired you to become part of the competition?
I was in the hallway on campus one day and I overheard that, there's this competition going on that a whole bunch of students are involved in, and I got super nosy and said, hey, I want to help build a house. And the more I heard the other students talk about how this house is going to be super energy efficient, that connected with me. And one of the struggles we have along the Wasatch Front is air quality and building better homes. It's not something that we've really embraced. So being able to get my hands really in the thick of it to understand how that's done helps kind of a global conversation with how do we change our mindset and do it differently. Weber State is known for going net zero in 30 years. It was a commitment that they made in the last 10, and they have figured it out how to do that and to accelerate that in a kind of an explosive manner. And they've partnered with Ogden City as they've found out how to understand what resources they can leverage to go kind of net zero. They brought the city in. So the city is starting to see how these principles make sense.
Now, let me ask you a little bit about your coursework in construction management. Do you recall what courses you took and to get to the point you are at now? And what were some of the requirements?
We were a group of seniors, and that was really great. There were some juniors in there too, but we had to really understand the mechanics behind this house as far as how systems worked and how the building envelope was constructed. One of the courses that I took that really helped was an energy course on just even the simple things of how a U factor is calculated. How R factors are evaluated, what a blower door test even shows. And our teacher in that class is a musician, so he would create songs about why insulation's important. And it was just so neat to have him kind of embrace his hobbies and then his profession. So that was a really influential class. Another one that I took, because I was more of a construction management major, And I would say for any student looking into construction management, you really got to focus on your estimating and your scheduling and your risk management and understanding how contracts work.
Very good. You mentioned this a little bit, but just to kind of get back into it, there's some exciting news happening in the city of Ogden with the Weber State University House. And can you kind of tell us the latest developments with the house in Ogden, Utah?
Yeah, so we went through a ribbon cutting ceremony with the house, and we had to do some creative things with that, in the state of COVID. But overall, that went really well. Right after we did the ribbon cutting, they drew a name out of kind of a hat for who had the option to buy, and they went forward with the contract. And I got to meet this cute little family. They're both Weber State graduates, and this is their first home, and I think that they're expecting their first child in probably 2 or 3 months. We'd planned on finishing the home. We started in December, and we had everything lined up to finish in May. And then when COVID hit, we really had to pivot hard.
I've got to ask, how did your team do it? How did you finish building a solar house during a pandemic?
I'm going back to our last major inspection that we had. It was around the end of February. It was a 4-way inspection, and I had 7 subcontractors on the site, and we were trying to scramble to get everything back together and communicate and coordinate with all my subs. And it was right when we were starting to kind of hear, hey, things might shift and things might change. And it was the week after we'd passed our 4-way, and the week after the job site was shut down. There were no students allowed on the job site. We'd had a ton of self-performed work still ahead of us. We were going into drywall. We had initially said we were going to do a lot of self-performed work as much as we could ourselves. So we had to shift and go and get quotes for drywall, go and get quotes for painting, go and get quotes for this, quotes for that. And it gave us a lot of experience on how to level bids. It gave us a lot of experience with how to kind of manage a project in, a really crucial time. It gave us experience to also say, like, okay, so if we can't be on the job site, okay, so we're going to shift and we're going to emphasize our marketing, because that's something that we get done at home. We're going to emphasize, how do we work this schedule better? Because that can be done at home.
Were you guys able to get the core team back together and be on the site?
When our numbers went down in about May or June, we were able to go and do some landscaping things, and we were able to kind of regroup a little bit, but so much of the home had already been done. We'd already outsourced it so we could really stay on target with our schedule.
Can you tell us some of the interesting features that you had a personal touch on in that home that they'll be able to enjoy?
I call them my top 5 that this home really emphasizes. We used ICFs. Those are insulated concrete forms, and they are basically like Legos that went around the foundation that we poured concrete in the middle of. And when I'm in the basement, I can't hear anything in the rest of the house, and the house sits on a corner lot and there's traffic. So it was kind of a neat example to say that if we're going to have a little bit more high density, more traffic, more people, how do we have our houses quiet? So ICFs did it for us in the basement. Then our exterior upstairs wall is a SIPS, structurally insulated panel system. And that was kind of neat to construct. Our electrical subcontractor was like, I've never worked on this. And we said, we haven't either. And then we brought our trade school, folks in, and they said, we haven't worked on this either. And I said, well, let's all figure it out together. So from there, we put in kind of just this really nice blanket around the house. We have an R60 in the attic, and then we used aero barrier as a sealant. They call it magic fairy dust, but it went into all the cracks and crevices. And that really helped kind of seal the house. And then the last thing that I love to tell everyone about is the ERV, that energy recovery ventilator in the basement. I often think why more homes just don't have this. It brings that fresh air in and exhausts the air from the inside of the house out. And when those two kind of pass, the warm air energy heat is transferred to the incoming cold air. So that delta that we're changing is a little less, and we're using less energy to condition the air.
That's pretty neat to know that you've been able to put these features in the home, and it's going to, be able to save money on energy bills in the future.
And I didn't even touch the 39 solar panels. So, I mean,
So be able to contribute as much energy as it produces on an annual basis.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good. Let me ask you a little bit more about your experience in the Solar Decathlon. How has it helped you shape your career?
Wow. Well, so I started a new position with a construction company, Engaged Contracting, and we're located in North Salt Lake City. And I'll tell you what, day number one, he puts me with the project manager, and one of our clients is the largest real estate owner in the United States, the U.S. Postal Service. So my project manager works on HVAC remodels for U.S. Postal Service buildings. I never in my entire life thought I would be working on HVAC systems in a post office, and I love every minute of it. I'll tell you how the Solar Decathlon helped that in the fact that we were dealing in this house, we were already working with compressor units that we often see in commercial settings and energy principles that have long been used in commercial settings. And so when I got to jump in feet first on U.S. Postal Service projects, I kind of had a little bit of an understanding with what was going on.
I mean, you've got older buildings that they need to be, retrofitted, and there's a way to do that and help them save energy, which is savings for everyone. So thank you for doing that.
It's so rewarding. I'm loving every minute of it.
But what's next for you, Janae? What do you want to do? What's some of the things that you are aspiring to do with your degree in construction management?
I feel super fortunate landing where I did, in the fact that I'm able to kind of help and shape and grow with this company that I'm currently at. And it allows me to also kind of keep my foot in a couple doors. Two of those doors that have interest to me. One is what's called the Utah Architecture, Engineering, and Construction Pathway. And this is a pathway that gets high school students into construction. So that labor statistic that we talk about, 40% is gone in 10 years. I love being able to kind of help younger students see how our industry is so remarkable. So that's one door that I keep open. The other door that I'd like to explore is doing more on a city level with planning and zoning. I think that there's a lot that we owe our community and how to build better. And that's definitely one thing I've learned from the Solar Decathlon is how can we do this different than what we've always done, and how can we have it last longer than what it's lasted in the past.
Based on being a project manager, any words of advice for those high school students that are interested in construction management?
Do as many job shadows and internships with different companies as you possibly can. Be curious and keep asking questions and be exposed to as much as you possibly can at that age. You'll go so far. You'll go so far by just having a little bit of understanding.
Very good. Janae, thank you so much for being on the program today. We really appreciate it. Janae Thomas at Weber State University. Be sure to join us next time as we talk to other students participating in the Solar Decathlon Build Challenge as part of our Road to Victory coverage. Go to www.solardecathlon.gov.